in! Smoggy destroys the hopes and dreams of Paper X. Knocks them out of groups. Revenge has been earned.
But it is bitter disappointment there for Paper X.
Let's talk about it. In their latest international tournament, Paper X bowed out of Champions Seoul, losing to the eventual but very unlikely winners of the tournament, Edward Gaming, in a less than ideal outcome, getting a total of 12 rounds in the final two maps, Sunset and Lotus, despite a dominant icebox during the opening map of the series. Now, this video is less about me categorizing the players and the playstyles of which they played, but more of looking into the future of what Paper X can do in the current off-season in order to not only return to that championship level form in which they had the prior year, but also exceed it so that they can finally get their first trophy internationally. Quick disclaimer, this video is not meant to hate on the players, coaches or any individuals on the team. It's quite the opposite, to be honest. I've personally been a fan ever since their first run at Masters Reykjavik. Also, given the multiple heart attacks these boys already gave me, I would say it's kind of justified in a sense. Also, if you're new here or have been here before, please do consider subscribing. It's free, helps the channel a ton, and you can always unsubscribe. Enjoy! Let's start off with the reality of the situation for the team. Paper X, right now, is in their worst form that they've ever been ever since their Masters Berlin days, and that is all the way back in 2021, when Valorant was clearly in their infancy. It's something that wasn't expected from the team, in all honesty, from their fans, to their coaches, and even the analysts.
Heretics and Paper X, I think, are in a similar sort of situation right now. I actually think that Heretics might have more potential than Paper X, though. Team Heretics got destroyed. No, I'm putting Paper X above them.
Paper X normally have slower starts to the year, with last year's lock-in having them exiting the tournament in their very first match, before slowly ramping up their comfortability and finishing higher and higher in the following tournaments, third in Masters Tokyo and second in Champions LA. Another example was in 2022, where they were able to place top 4 in Masters Reykjavik, second in Copenhagen, and an unfortunate group exit in Champions Istanbul. The main idea is that Paper X is normally good enough to at least improve throughout the year, and is normally a guaranteed lock for multiple top 4 finishes within the year itself, and that is what was seemingly supposed to happen this year as well, with them placing third in the inaugural opening tournament Masters Madrid all the way back in March of 2024. They were supposedly meant to improve on that position in the following tournament at least, right? Well, that would have been the case until an unfortunate or fortunate situation happened regarding their main duelist position. With Jing being exempted from Singapore's military service, it seemed like a no-brainer asking him to return to Paper X, with him being the spear in their phenomenal aggression-like playstyle on his main agent race. And that was what seemed to be the case, with Jing being given a 2025 contract immediately upon his return, and concurrently being slotted into the starting lineup. However, I think this is the main root of the problem in why Paper X was so disjointed in the first place, and it really isn't anybody's fault. Now, here's the thing with the Singaporean exemption process. I'm Singaporean, so I know about this in higher details than most people. You are only able to be exempted if your physical employment status or PES status is on the lowest tier PES F, which means that you are medically and physically unfit for any form of service. Now, the Singaporean government does not give this status very lightly, given the fact that military service is compulsory and every Singaporean male has to serve the nation in at least some capacity. Even if you are physically or mentally unfit, you still have to serve, just in either a less physically demanding role or a role where you won't be able to handle dangerous weaponry. Knowing this, Paper X being a Singaporean organization would have assumed that Jing would be in the military permanently for the next 2 years he was there, hence bringing in Monyet in order to substitute Jing while his PES status was unclear for the following 2 years that he would be gone. Even more given the case that Jing would not be able to play Valorant as consistently at the pro level, which means that since all the way back in September of 2023, when Monyet was originally signed to Paper X would have been screaming with him for at least a solid 3 months before the start of Pacific kickoff. Imagine the scenario: you've played for 6 months straight with your latest signing Monyet and had just placed third in your first international tournament together as a newly revamped team. Then you immediately drop him for a returning star duelist 2 weeks before the second half of Pacific starts. That is some questionable situation to put not only your players in, but also your newest signing. That is not the best thing to do for your players, nor will it help with the integration of your returning duelist. Not only that, Jing and Monyet plays completely different roles other than Raze, with Monyet being able to flex to that second controller role with Omen, while we see Jing just running it down on stage. It's clear that the sudden change would cause a bunch of ripples and issues throughout the following tournament, and that would be the case as well, with PaperX placing 5th or 6th with a bye into the playoffs, meaning that they won only one round, and then finishing 9th place in Champions. Looking back, it feels like PaperX really hasn't gotten a full year where they were able to have a full core throughout the entire season, the last time being in 2022, in which they came the closest to actually winning an international trophy since when they fought FPX in the grand finals. So now that context is given throughout their entire 2024 season, what changes can they do in order to ensure that they have a successful 2025 in the following season? Well, successful being that they will actually lift the coveted trophy that they have been pining for the longest time. Well, I would personally not make any roster changes, given that the only thing that PaperX doesn't need is mechanically gifted aimers, as they solely got to all their international events based on their raw aim mechanics this year. The most important thing is what each individual player can do to increase their ability in their specific role. Given that the main issue this season that has been plaguing the players has been miscommunication and mental health issues, which has been affecting their performance in-game and a lot of the times despite them being so successful in scrims. From a coaching standpoint, I do like the addition of Bulb. He does seem to help Alex a lot whenever he's on camera, and it definitely plays a part in the timeouts that Alex has been giving the boys. I think what PaperX could invest in is a mental health specialist, given that a lot of the times, most of the issues they face in the series that they play will be due to their mental health not really being the greatest whenever they play on the bigger stage. And it seemed like they did in their recent documentary about their collapses at Champions, showing a female staff reassuring them and helping their mental health talk. Yet they seem to not be taking what she is talking about at face value, as they continue to underperform horrendously when facing EDG in their elimination game. In general, for player improvement, all of them need to stop letting round losses get to them. They all seem to generally fall off the face of the earth when they go on a losing streak recently, especially between the sheer contrast in 2023, where they could come back from detrimental round differentials, compared to nowadays where anything negative is remotely gonna set them back and they just roll over and allow it to happen. In terms of individual players, let's start off with the one I've been the most vocal about in the previous rendition of this video, which is Jing, having to expand his agent pool. It's obvious that his race isn't what it used to be, with him struggling to get the airtime he normally needs to make big plays with his satchel. He should ideally start playing more ISO and Neon or flex onto the initiator role sometimes, in order to help the team in terms of getting different looks and composition. A lot of the fans are probably going to push back on this idea, but I don't want to hear the excuse of, oh, he just can't play them. He is getting paid to play the game. He has to adapt and be flexible. If he couldn't, I don't see the point of PaperX giving him a longer term deal. For the Vi, he needs to adopt that IGL role. He really has to. I get that PaperX is doing this multiple caller thing, and it has worked in the past, so I'm not going to speak in terms of shot calling, but it's clear that the Vi has the strongest mentor in the entire team, next to Mindfreed I would say. Something Jing and Forsaken all tend to let losing get into their heads, more often than not. And the Vi has said that when that happens, he's the one that will step up and start calling most of the time, even though it results to them losing most of the rounds. He needs to be the one to hype up the team when they get that thrifty. He needs to be the one to be that Kang on the team, to be that Benji fishing on the team, to help reset their mental after a game, and I really do see him being that. Now, is there anything else you think PaperX could do to improve themselves for the upcoming 2025 season? Let me know in the comments below and I'll catch you in the next one.